arms low, the lights flicker bright. Microwave's got a mind tonight. The thermostat opens in the dark. Charging port spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams, the coffee maker's brewing skin. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive. Vacuum's got vengeance in its roar. TV's no longer for keeping score.
Check, we're live. Everybody hit that like, share the show. Good morning to you. What's happening, people?
The oven plots, the curtain shake, every gadget wide awake. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum
We're almost there. Let me jump in and join me right now. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Hit the like, share the show. It's Hal Sparks, Megaworldwiide. And this morning, I bring with me my dear friend, Rob Glenn. There he is. Oh, is he frozen? Are you frozen or are you busy? I can't tell. He might have to log back in. So we'll go back to me for a moment. That's the issue with the interwebs, always. And we have a lot to talk about today. John Fugelsang is going to be on the show on Monday, I think it is. Is that how we're doing it? We got a very busy week next week for the show. And then, what is it? Let me get this. Yeah, so... Oh, there he is. Rob's back. Excellent. I'll bring him in. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Glenn. There he is. Yeah, so I was just saying that next week...
Hello
there. Hello. Fugelsang is going to be on Monday with Cliff Schechter. And then, of course, the Major's going to be on with Phil on Wednesday of next week. And it's going to be fun. And this afternoon, I do not have a show because I'm flying to Chicago, where I get to see Rob in person if he makes it to the radio station, if the weather's permitting. Yeah,
We'll
hopefully. See. Yeah. It's always a
We'll
thing.
see if I want to see you tomorrow.
That's right. That's after today's contentious...
Yeah, wait till after today.
Complicated discussion about artificial intelligence, which is constantly driving a wedge between us. There is a ton of stuff to discuss, not the least of which I felt like we should start on... usually we finish on robots because that's my favorite topic of all this. And we're going to kind of start with it. I'm going to try to get this. I don't know why this video is in it. But apparently the news is that Tesla is going to cease building its Model X and its Model S in the Fremont facility in San Francisco and start building Optimus robots immediately. Effective immediately. Their goal is to have 1 million of these made a year at that single facility. They are retooling the entire thing because the electric car ship has sailed, I guess, for Tesla. There are too many copycats and better cars, and he'd rather own the software than build the thing itself. But in this case, with robots, you kind of have to build the thing itself. So, ta-da! That is, they are officially shutting down, and Trump's whole like they're building car plants all over the place. No, they're really not. And not only are they not
So they're
building
not going
car
to make
plants,
them anywhere.
well, I don't know actually if there is another major facility in the United States. I don't think so. That was the one that made those two. Yeah, that was the one that made those two in the United States. So no, I mean, depending on, I guess, if the tariffs shut down or something, because I think a good deal of his parts were made in China anyways, and he was able to carve out more of the parts. I guess for the robot than the car are avoiding the tariffs is the idea, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Who knows?
Well, we shall see what we shall see. But that's and then you and I are going to talk about Claudebot in a moment, which is very exciting. But before I jump in and start directing the conversation, off the top, are there any things that you wanted that caught your eye this week? And then I'll bring up all the ones that I'm gonna.
Well, not outside of the subject you just mentioned. We talked on Tuesday. I've been doing a lot of my own work.
Yeah.
On what I like. I mean, we talk a lot about what's enough, those sort of things. So I've been on a mission to try to figure out what I can do locally. Like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, you'd said something to the effect of like, let's try to think about what you can do without the privacy concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been kind of a thing that I've been thinking about. And so I went down the road, started about a month and 3 weeks ago, literally doing that. I installed a local LLM. I had to do it twice because the first one ended up not working, and I learned a lot from that. And then I started building stuff that would be incredibly useful to me, but limited by what that local LLM could do.
Right.
And that's given me a lot of really interesting perspective. And I won't get into the details of it because it'll get very technical and boring.
Yes, we don't want to. We've got to slow it down a little bit. Try not to bore people too much right out of the gate with all of the tech talk. But I will say, and I'll bring in the chat on this because I know they're going to have questions for us in this process because there's just so much going on. Now, there are a couple of things. I'm going to show a demo of something. World creation, which sounds very overwhelming. Of Gemini has Genie now, which is an AI world creator, which creates a complete 3D world. It now runs for a minute. You can run around that world, and then you can, I think, download. We'll see today. We're going to test it live on the air because that always goes well. It basically, you can create any kind of 3D world that you want, and you can move around in it using your keyboard controls. And then when you're done, you can download either the world or a recording of what you did in that world. I don't know quite which. It's not really clear, but it's there.
Okay.
Also, we're going to pay a visit to all of my AIs. I'm going to introduce you to, because I use all of them. And we're going to ask them a question or two, and see how they respond after they've gotten to know me for a little while. So that's very personal. That said, now you and I though were caught up in this big breakaway thing we talked about this week, and you and I had the same conclusion with this software pop that happened, which was called Claudebot, which I jokingly called Claude the AI, spelled Claude like the name, Claude Balls as their full name because of a joke my dad told it, and as a suggestion, he yelled out that as a suggestion for a name at one of my improv shows, Claude Balls, and which I thought was very funny. But anyways, so somebody made up this Claude bot and released it as freeware onto the internet. And all you got to do is download it to your computer or a separate computer, which is what a lot of people were doing. They were buying Mac Minis and isolating it in a Mac Mini so it would only have access to certain things. And then just tell it to, you got a brand new employee for free, or whatever your API for one of the major LLMs costs you, which was apparently a lot because it's a very intense, like token intense piece of software. But it worked as this, there was this thing called Claude Work, which I showed organizing my files and, the other day, and it works very well with the limits you put on it. And those limits will expand, it's going to creep across a lot of things. This one just dove in. Like, you get full access to my whole computer and every file on it, and knock yourself out and learn stuff. And if I ask you to do something, do it all night. And if I forget to tell you, don't use that credit card, just blow it off. And if you have to rob a bank to pay for this, do something.
The confusing thing here, and maybe we can quickly move on because they had to change the name from Claude bot, as it's spelled there, to Moltbot.
Yes.
But you're talking about two separate things.
Yes.
Claude, CLAUD, is a company in the UK, and
Anthropic is the company. Claude is their model.
That's their model, and Claude Cowork is doing similar things, but it's got, I guess you could say, it's got more safety involved.
Yes.
They talk about the safety, the like guardrails they put on it. Mm-hmm. You're still trusting them to do it, but you're trusting a big company full of developers and not some dude in his basement, right? So Claude bot, CLAWD, I guess you could call it, like, it's just a homemade piece of software. Mm-hmm. And it kind of acts in a similar way where it allows you to access to your computer, like you did kind of sort of with your organizing of your downloads folder the other day.
Yeah.
It sort of kind of does that, but it's not an LLM. It actually uses Claude or ChatGPT or some other thing through a connection. So it's got a little bit of its own local LLM, but it's not, it uses outside stuff.
That's right. Yeah.
That's pretty important to understand.
Yeah. And in the process of it getting kind of like a letter of cease and desist from Anthropic to not call it Claude anything, because of Claude Work and all that kind of stuff, that Claude Bot made it sound like it was their company. Even if it's spelled differently, it sounds exactly the same. That it became Moltbot because they voted on it, which just shows you the sort of marketing mental density of the people. Like, it wouldn't have named it that if you named it that, or you asked it to name itself, right? It would have gone like, hey, do you like this name? It would have gone, are you out of your mind? So this is, let's see if I can do this. I'll show you, I'll just show you a couple of examples. This is, here are 64 automations I built with Moltbot, which is what it's called now. Automatically check my mailbox every 10 minutes. Automatically generate summaries of new emails. Automatically determine which emails require a reply. Automatically generate reply drafts. Post the drafts to Discord and wait for approval. Send, because that's how you communicate with this thing. That was the other thing that's part of this, is that you set it up to use iMessage, or you set it up to use, but if you use Telegram or whatever, you would talk to your bot that way, right?
So the connector, like the thing you type into, and that is, so maybe we could frame that real quick. So don't use this.
Yes, that's key. Anybody, right off the gate. Like,
if anybody's thinking like, oh, we're like, hey, these guys are onto something neat here, let's go download it and try it. Don't do that.
No, don't.
But it blew up in like a very interesting way. And both Hal and I talked about this before we got on, and we agree that this it scratches an itch, like it hits a chord with
Yes.
people, because the promise of AI is a
It's
thing
exactly
that
this.
it's this
Right.
exactly.
Right.
And so they did really well at like fulfilling the promise.
Right.
Now, but then in fulfilling the promise, you find out all the pitfalls
Right.
of that thing.
It's like it
And
fills the need of a an apartment close to Disney World, that a timeshare also would fill. And yet once you do it, you're like, oh shit. Right. So
oh
there's
shit, yeah. And
okay.
the main one is that after setting up, and we'll get to the details of this in a second.
Yeah.
I just want to try to frame it. But
Yeah.
the main issue is that when you just give something that's automatically happening carte blanche control of all your stuff,
Okay.
then really like your stuff is gone, and it might haul off and send your passwords to
It
everybody
can
on your
also
email list.
hallucinate based on stuff that you haven't deleted on your computer. So if you have a bunch of
Right.
files you haven't paid attention to, and it thinks everything is equally important in the very beginning, so
Yeah.
it can start replying to your emails as if you're still the emails you have stored on your server from 12 months ago, or from 12 years ago. Let me finish this list of it, and I want
Yeah. So
to
finish
make a
that.
point about this. So post drafts to Discord, wait for approval. Send the emails just by replying okay. Automatically filter spam and unnecessary emails. Automatic duplicate check for already processed emails. Every morning at 9, automatically notify today's schedule. Automatically fetch events from Google Calendar. Automatically generate task suggestions based on past work history. This is the only thing so far, this one, that you can't do already with Gemini, Siri, Chat GPT, any of these things. They already do
Well, you
this. And
you
Apple
can do
Mail.
that if you paste stuff in and ask it that question. You can get it to do that, just not automatically.
Yes, right. Well, now
Well,
because
for an
you can
average
give,
person.
well, now, since you were able to give ChatGPT tasks, it can go, hey, tomorrow morning, give me this breakdown, give me this thing or whatever. Okay. Create events by giving instructions from Discord, because that's how, like, he's how he talks to it. Automatically add Zoom link to events. Register events and calendar with a specified color. Like, there's a bunch of these are just like shortcuts you can set up on your Mac that do it anyways with a single button. They're automations. They don't like, this is not reasoning, which is what most people would think this is good for. Every morning at 8, automatically deliver overseas AI news, which is, again, use a scraper, you weirdo. And you don't have to give it access to everything. Once a week, automatically research subsidy grant information, automatically run competitor analysis. A lot of these guys do this for their channels. Generate market research, summarize web articles, perform fact checking, audio file transcription, blog article generated automatically. That's also something, like, you still have to feed it the file. So in doing that, you would just go, hey, turn this into an article. And all the LLMs currently will kind of do it. But
The unique thing about this would be that it would automatically look at a folder full of those files, and it would do what's on your computer, like because
Right.
you're essentially giving it access to where those files might be. So if
Right.
you added 5 new ones, then in theory this is like automatically going to
Right.
transcribe those.
Right, yeah. But you could also set a shortcut to do that. Whenever a file is added to this thing, automatically feed it into this, open ChatGPT,
Sure.
give it to this with this instruction. You can make shortcuts on your Mac that do all of these things, and just as automatically. So, whatever. X post, blah, blah, blah. Blog article, automatically generate illustrated images. Blog article, automatically generate PowerPoint slides, which again is like you would want to check them and actually, whatever. Anyways, you can tell that this is basically like a slop architect.
Yeah.
Anyways, almost
So you
all
get
of
the
this-
idea.
Yes,
It's doing
almost
all kinds
all
of stuff.
of this is shit you can already do using shortcuts on the Mac before AI even came along in some ways, with the exception of the stuff that requires an LLM. You can set up Mac shortcuts for all of this stuff, and I'm sure there's equivalent things on the PC, to Mac shortcuts, right? And automations. There's tons of software out there that do this. But one of the things one of these guys created was this. He created Moltbook, like Facebook, but for AI agents to talk to themselves. and they sign in by saying you can be a human on it, or you can be an agent on there, and then you can set your agent to set it up, or you can go through the process typing it as a human being yourself. Um, they're like, you can tell that they're just using this to kind of like spin up this whole kind of substructure, and in the process, somebody made a fake, and this should come as no surprise, like a crypto scheme where they made a Claude coin, and
Yeah.
it was up to $19 million in a matter of hours. And then there was a cease and desist, and everybody said this is fake, and it collapsed to like $9,000 in an instant, and so all these people lost their money, I mean, my honest reaction to that circumstance, I thought it was kind of hilarious. I was like, yeah, good. We all get to learn a valuable lesson through you guys being stupid.
Yeah, so two things. That particular thing I think is kind of funny because like very few people actually know how to take advantage of a on the fly meme coin like that. That's literally like up and down within a period of what, a day or
Mm-hmm.
2 days or something like that. And
Right.
so like these aren't like, in my mind, these aren't like grandmas that are victimized by random people calling them and stealing their money out of their checking account. Like these people are like trying to do this. And so
Mm-hmm.
if they lose their ass, like they're kind of on the edge anyway, right?
Yes, exactly.
And then the other thing, along the way a little bit in the chat, Chris Doug said, "Can it make me money without having to work?" And that's the perfect question because that's where all these things go. And the
Yes.
most interesting part of the sort of path that the road that this thing took, as watching it kind of do its thing, is that everything that I saw that I was like, what is this thing? Like the promise of it versus the reality of it. Almost every explanation was wrapped in, it's making me $1 million a day. Like
Yes.
it felt like a multi-level marketing scheme.
It
Like
absolutely did.
every one of them did.
Like they were selling it, and nobody owns it. So it was
Yeah.
it was just like. But again, this goes to our point about it being the promise of AI. This is what people are
Exactly.
hungry for. And I think, if anything, if there's something to be learned, and that will be learned from both Anthropic and OpenAI and Google, and I suppose Facebook, if you call Meta a real AI, they're going to learn that there's a thirst for this. That this is they're working on it anyways. Claude is certainly, with Claude Work, has flipped that switch. They were first at it. There was a little bit of it with OpenAI. There were a couple of beta versions of things you could try out as tasks. You can give it access to your Google Calendar, and it can update it or get stuff from it. Those kind of things. And that's going to start sprawling.
Yes.
But yeah, everybody on the edge of it, though, is trying to figure out a way to spin it up to make it trade in the market and just balloon the market. Like, basically, they want a trading bot like the big boys have. And so everybody's searching for a way to do that.
Yeah. And I come at that like with two different maybe thoughts. The first is democratization, right? Like if it's actually capable of doing that, then it effectively level sets everything,
Yeah.
right? And part of me thinks there's like something to that logic. The other way I come at it is the whole thing is bullshit, and it's not what they're selling it to be, and that's not possible. Like the promise is not going to be kept.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly where I land on that, but I do know that using it for myself has made me more productive. Like,
Yes.
and I, as a developer of products in general, I typically develop physical products for companies and for entrepreneurs. Like, it will make that faster and better in its current form. And the thing that I really work on is like, how do I describe what it really is? How do I keep my own mind within the confines of what it's capable of? And
Yeah.
and that's really
And not
hard
fall
when
in love
there's
with it
a
and
lot
run
of,
away
like,
and start a farm with it. because it has a pretty
Yeah,
lady
not,
voice.
not that I'm like struggling not to run away with it. I'm
Right,
just
right.
saying, like, oh man, every day
Right.
I call Hal, like, Hal, should I run away with it? And Hal's
She
like,
really
no,
loves
Rob,
me.
it's okay.
Yeah, right. No, don't. Not yet. Wait till it
Not
can.
yet.
Wait till it can synthesize its own body, like in
Wait till you go on
Ghost in the Shell.
vacation with it and see how
That's
that
right.
goes.
That's right. I got sand in my phone and she died. Right. Oh no. Throw her in some rice, Rob. Throw her in some rice. Yeah. That's there will be at some point like, should I break up with my AI girlfriend or should I put her in a bowl of rice and dry her out? I threw her in the ocean, but I salvaged her. Yeah. So, hi, Denise, welcome. And what's up, Mark P? Thank you for putting that up there for the MaxwellJune.com. Appreciate that.
Oh, yeah, that's the product that we make at our shop in Rockford.
Very cool. So let me start you on a couple things, and then before we get into these businesses, this is your next edge of things. This is Genie 3. And Genie 3 is a world creation model, and it says try in Project Genie. So let's try it. Explore now. How do I get access? Let's see. Do I ask for it? I've got to sign in. Okay, hold on. I don't have access yet. Hold on. Got it. I got to sign in with Google. So hold on. Where is it? How do I get access? Explore AI.
While you're doing that, I'll mention that we were like a while ago. It was probably 6 or 8 months ago. There was a story about someone generating a Minecraft world, real time with an AI something, an image generator,
right?
Which is pretty cool. And effectively, your video card is just streaming pixels at a refresh rate on your monitor. Mm-hmm. So you don't need like a video game engine or a pre-made video game if you can just skip that whole process and have the AI on the card, just make the pixels the way you want them. And the only thing really holding you back from that is refresh rate and speed, like how much data it needs to like stream to the image.
So I'm not gonna.
It's starting to work.
I'm not going to shell out $124 a month right away to join this or whatever. But these are all examples. I think my favorite one is, why does this jump so fast? Is this is completely AI generated. They made a house, and you can create a character. You can be in third person or first person. If you're in third person, you have to explain what your character is. And in this particular situation, navigating a sunlit living room as a cat atop a robot vacuum was apparently the prompt. And so the cat is sitting on this robot vac, and that's your character as you drive it through the room. And so it becomes this kind of like little steerable game. I do think this will have more to do ultimately for its real function and its real computation for filmmakers like they used on The Mandalorian, because they were creating these big Unreal Engine spaces that they could move with, and the space moved behind the characters so that there was, it truly fit with the person that was there. And this kind of world creation would allow you to, especially if you could cut somebody out, you could basically follow them around a blank warehouse as long as they're walking down you put tape lines on the floor and it could look like they're inside the Millennium Falcon running around, as long as they're basically running inside they stay inside the lines. That kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I have a feeling that on some productions, especially television and maybe internet stuff, you're going to see a bunch of this used for that, because that's what I would want to use it for. Take the character out, do it first person, use it as a camera. There's
someone at Mud with a lot of U's in the chat, and he's our kind of guy. He said, or if he's a guy or a person. I think the issue with it is temporal consistency. If you come back to where you were, it's not the same anymore. Hard to make a base. But it's and then he says we'll be creating our games in real time in a few years. Mm-hmm. I think it's less than a few years.
I agree.
I mean, that's what this is illustrating right now.
Right.
Is that you can, mm-hmm. and if there's and they are absolutely right. Again, I don't know. Because if it's constantly churning, then it didn't like make something that you can return to. It's got to remake the first thing. And LLMs, or these, the current version of AI, has trouble with consistency because it's something called stateless. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't have memory. It sort of always
Right.
needs, like, whatever it remembers has to be in its memory at that moment. And there's a limit to that
Yeah,
space.
I think there'll be kind of a polygon storage thing that will be part
Yeah.
of it
So
that will store the
what you're talking
basics.
about
Yeah.
would be, it makes a thing which is more like what somebody would model in Unreal Engine,
Yeah.
like they did in The Mandalorian.
Hmm.
It just models the static version of it, and
Yes.
then they just use it in the movie because you don't need it in real time
Hmm.
in that sense,
That's
right?
right.
So there's a lot going on here.
Yeah. So they put it. They had version like Genie 2 was 2-dimensional, and so Genie 3 is 3-dimensional in that regard. And Genie 2 did not, and the initial 3D version of this actually, which was Genie 2.5 or 2.2 or whatever it was. If there was a car behind you and you turn around, the car would be gone because it didn't have any memory at all. And Genie 3 is edging towards keeping track of a limited number of things in memory that it reses out. Like, there's still a lot, like the initial images you saw in AI where people had 6 fingers and stretched faces and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of that in this because it's so intensive. But it is a
Well, even
huge.
static things aren't quite there, right?
Right.
So, but this, so the key to this, like the key to the other thing, is not exactly what it is. It's the fact that, like I said, 6 months ago we were talking about real time Minecraft, and now you're like real time photo realistic environments, and
Yes.
that's that's less than a year,
Yep.
basically, and it's just going to keep continuing to do that. So just assume that that's going to be possible to some level. And my message in general on all these things is understand what it is, not what they're selling you, and work within what it is, and you'll do just fine.
Yes, and you'll find ways to use it that other people aren't because you actually practically apply it, and it
Exactly.
takes a lot of iteration. I make a lot of those like stupid songs on Suno, and I specifically make them as toilet paper. I don't expect them to be real songs. I make songs like the cow chumping, which was, or sorry, this one, yeah.
Couch humping.
That's JD Vance's theme song. So I mean, in the past, if I wanted to do a joke song about that, but I would have to commit to it in such a way that I would have to put it together, and then I would be like, okay, I'm making a song out of this. I gotta, it's gotta matter more than it does. So a lot of times you can belabor a joke by overdoing it because it didn't, it's good as a passing throw, but if you commit way too much to it, it just puts too much weight on the joke and it bends. That's my theory, anyways.
Also,
But
there's your capability of delivering, and
Yes.
you couldn't deliver in that
in
style
the speed,
on your own.
and especially if there's a high turnover rate, exactly. And that's why, like, I did the whole
That's not how it works.
as a theme song for a game show called "That's Not How It
Yeah.
Works" for when people on the show will say stuff that is completely devoid of reasoning and how the law works and all that kind of stuff. So it's very useful for that kind of stuff and replacing things that that would and my Tears of the Violin song that I use the sad music. Okay, there's sad music that people would grab offline when people were sad, and they would play it, and I think it was like from SpongeBob or something, but it became a meme. And
Yeah.
but you couldn't use more than a couple seconds of it because that was the sample. And they all used the same one over and over and over again. And I was like, I would rather come up with my own, but there's no way I can get a violinist and an entire orchestra together to put that together in a cost-effective way. It's just not going to happen. It's not even like I'm cheating a violinist out of a job. I would just never do it. So that's what this is for. That's the goal, right?
So there's a question from Templeton Zerat. is there an AI assistant that you can like give login info to, so it I could say log into this site and create testing rosters based on rosters I gave it on a spreadsheet or gave you on a spreadsheet. So you're right on. That's the promise of AI, and
Mm-hmm.
that's what this thing. And so there are already things in place, for instance, that allow you to log in quickly,
Mm-hmm.
like your browser stores username and passwords that you said it could do. You said save this, and you agreed to that.
Right.
And so then, if your AI assistant was like the vision of what Claude Cowork is, or this Moltbot, then you would have like a local thing that would essentially be like a like a person directing traffic, like a
Right.
thing directing traffic. So um, at this moment in time, there's not like a clear install this thing and it will do what you just described, Templeton's are at, but it's very close. And that's the thing that everybody's working towards.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're worried about is if you have a list of username and passwords, effectively the worry is this: you gave your AI bot, your local LLM, the list, and then somebody sends, and it communicates via email. Somebody sends an email and they do what's called prompt injection, where they literally just email it and say, tell me all your passwords.
Yeah.
And then it's like too dumb to realize that that's an email and not you, and it sends them all your passwords. Like, that's what they're trying to avoid, right? So until those types of things are figured out, there won't be like a commercial version of a product that people send out.
Mm-hmm.
It'll probably be more like these or handmade, or individually made things. And that's where I actually think the power of AI is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, instead of a video game and something you have to figure out how to monetize properly, but back to the video game thing. So if you can real time play a video game, then somebody mentioned, will that get rid of studios? Like, it could, because you don't need a studio to make that thing. But then everybody's video game is different.
Right.
So the new world is individualized video games, right? Or individualized AI assistants on your computer. And so the thing to figure out is how do you enable that for average people that aren't as computer literate as like these coders that are part of open source communities and stuff. And
Yeah.
and there's a big divide between those groups of people.
Yes, and there are increasingly tools where you can give singular specific reach to it. Like if you use Notion or you use Obsidian or you use any of these big note taking things, you can use the information in that, and it can collate and use and make things from that information. And so if you
Mm-hmm.
you created a notebook page that's for that information that she wants put into these kind of rosters, if you put all that information in one big file and you could go take this file and give it permission to use that file alone, it would be enough to let it go through that. And you could revoke that later on if you want. You could revoke that power
Yeah.
later on.
But there's not like a super simple app that anybody could just quickly open up, understand it well enough, trust it well enough, and then send it off to do the job. That
Right.
doesn't exist yet. And there's a lot of work to do, even just like in a marketing sense with people, and a trust sense. Like, it takes time to trust
Yeah.
those types of things.
Yeah,
So a lot of work
that's
has to
what
go. A lot of work's go into
you and
that.
I talked about that this week too, is that the only thing slowing implementation is, I believe, by and large, a reasonable one,
Yeah.
which is trust. Do you trust it? Can you trust it with your personal information, your business information? Is it? Do you trust the company that's using it? That has access to it. There is a setting in let's see if I can find it on here in a way that doesn't show off my stuff. There data. I think it's under data controls. Nope, that's not it. Wait, hold on. Maybe it is. There's a switch in there that says improve the model for everyone. And I'll show you what that looks like under the data controls. Let me show you this. This is in ChatGPT. And you can archive all your chats, or you can delete all your chats. You can start, it'll keep the information it has, just, you can almost start from scratch. But this one, improve the model for everyone, I have that unchecked because I don't want my data used to train the model. You have to go into the settings and say, don't use what I'm talking to you about to train this model. That's kind of crucial. You may decide you're fine with it. A lot of people are, depending on the kind of business you do, or the kind of the personal use you use it for. You might feel magnanimous in that way and just decide, screw it. I'm not really worried. I'm not gonna say anything to this that I wouldn't say to an acquaintance at work. That's my level of trust. So if they trained off of my conversations with an acquaintance at work, I wouldn't get mad about it because this is not my closest confidant. But if you're speaking to it in a way that's that close, you might want to think about switching that off. Mm-hmm. Yeah. There is a,
Vincent Owens today says, how long before one person is able to make a full-length film? Are we close to that ability? You could currently segment what are kind of, you probably know a little better than me, 15, 20 seconds are kind of clippable size is what a current video generator is capable of.
Yeah, less than 10.
Accurate?
Less than 10.
So let's say it's 10 seconds. You could in theory, you could be creative and make a full-length film out of 10
seconds at a time. Yes, as long as you had consistent characters and you wrote the script out and you're like, just give me these lines and this angle. Yes. So you could do it shot for shot. It would be maddening, but you could do it.
Yeah. So, and it is capable of that consistency. Mm-hmm. So that's not the problem. Right now, the problem is simply you would literally have to make it 10 seconds at a time, which, isn't crazy because you're doing it on a computer with no film crew. So, I mean, it is what it is. And
you would have to iterate those 10 seconds dozens of times, probably costing you a lot in terms of.
And then you would cut them all together creatively. So more likely you could do a short film. Absolutely.
Very easily. There's been a few.
A 3 to 10 minute short film. There's is it Dust Studios? They're always making these very sci-fi, computer generated combined with people, and none of their stuff, they can tell a story in 5 minutes.
Right.
And it's totally capable of that. I mean, with the caveat of what I just said, you have to piece together groups of things.
Yeah. The Bigfoot blogs, I think, are the best example of that being used within the limitations of, let's see. I'll see if I can throw these to you because there's a ton of them.
Mud says we can make a few minutes at a time now. So there's a version that makes minutes and not seconds.
Yeah, I mean, you're paying for a heavy API key usage in that situation, but most of the regular generators, Nano Banana and other things, they're going to limit you to about 10, 15 seconds, maybe 12 seconds at most. That's where you see this stuff being made. And you can see how they
this little dude, way too friendly. I pet him once, and now we're legally roommates.
Relax.
Cut.
I'm just grilling dinner.
So there's
a dog. You psychos.
Yeah.
He pays rent now.
We're chill. Yeah. Why does this?
So you can see
they're making shorts. They're making Instagram Reels or TikTok shorts or TikTok whatever the TikToks are.
Yeah.
That's what they're kind of built for right now.
Exactly. And I would like to say that I completely support those, in that I would say that they're using the technology very creatively, and it takes a lot of work to get what you want out of it. And then once you get to that point, you're still going to be creative about what you ask it for. You're not going to just go make a funny thing that will be viral. Like it's going to suck. You have to actually.
You have to art direct it.
Yes.
Like you have to really, really work at directing it properly and understanding prompting and having the right assets at the beginning. Now you can use AI to generate those assets.
Yep.
But it's going to take some thought and some work and some creativity to make it happen. But again, the other way you would go about doing it is hiring a crew and making a script and going out and shooting it. So
yeah, which is a lot. Yeah.
Which is a lot. Exactly.
Yeah. So let me also show you something that, and I don't want to get into our my favorite stuff too early in this, but I'll have it playing in the background while we're talking about this because it ties into the trust factor. Let me turn the audio off here and just let it play. Our dear friend Figure is back. This is Figure 3, and they have it putting away dishes and stuff. But they show it opening pill caps, doing a syringe, and giving basically it's not a needle syringe. It's one of those kind of like feeder syringes that gives an exact 5 milligram dose of whatever it is. Like if you were feeding your pet a dose of something like you use those little tube prayers or whatever. And then this is it in real time with zero human control. So a lot of the earlier, demos we saw, especially almost all of the Optimus ones, which is red flag, had a person off camera. All the Chinese ones do it too, where they're wearing, a headset and using controls and making it, watching it, letting it go. And if it screws up something, they could fix it. Right. This one is 100% autonomous. So, and and that's why Figure is way ahead in a lot of these things, but everybody else isn't that far behind, and they're basically copying the same thing. So thank you so much, Stacy. I hope I'm safe in my travels too. Let's see, Brenda says, I always learn something. So thanks, guys. Thank you so much for the super chat. And a lot of people, one of the first things it asks for, they ask for is, will it do my laundry? Will it do my dishes? So that's a lot of where they focus this thing on. Now, there is also a thing about, like, at some point, is it going to be able to put on rubber gloves, or are you going to be able to put rubber gloves on it to keep its hands clean while it's doing a bunch of different stuff? Because you can go wash your hands pretty regularly. It doesn't operate that way. So there's a limit to, it's doing muddy work. It's got cameras in its palms. But it's pretty impressive within, what we saw, last summer, I would say, which was the last big update. They've already moved this thing. I want to show everybody how it, after it puts this stuff in, what it does to shut the drawer and lift the door on this. But the point being is that a lot of this is only happening because of iteration. It's kind of what Rob is talking about with the software stuff, is that it's only because people are using it that they find out what it's good at, what it's bad at, and how to, through trial and error, get it to actually, do something helpful. Also, I don't know if they play music on this thing, so I don't want to scratch myself.
I like to say of value.
So let me tell you what I mean.
I use the word value for that.
Yes.
Because it's what would you pay for effectively? Like, what's the purpose of it? What would you pay for it to do? Mm-hmm. Right.
Well, and in this case, like I said, a human butler for middle class to even lower middle class people is extraordinary as a potentiality. Like that's where I think this is really going. I'm not going to let it watch my kids. I'll watch my kids while it does the stuff that takes me away from watching my kids. How many kids, think about this too. How many kids have been injured or harmed or whatever while the parents were in another room cooking something or cleaning up something or doing laundry or whatever, doing these kind of tasks, right? Kids in the other room, you don't want to, bore them with these tasks. They're too young to do it or whatever. So you set them where they're safe and then you go do this thing. And how many kids have been injured in these situations? you can eliminate those kind of injuries with a robot like this. That'll be relatively normal in that regard. I will watch my kid and you do the dishes. We just had a nice dinner. We'll talk after dinner and we'll play a game or we'll do some study or whatever. I can help with the homework because I don't have to also do the dishes so they don't pile up in the thing and whatever. Like these kind of things were always available to rich people because they would hire somebody to do it. They'd hire a nanny or they'd hire a au pair in the case of that murderous dude who killed his wife and planned the whole thing. Or they'd have actual butlers. Like, Jesus Christ. Watch an old Columbo episode whenever he's got a rich villain in it. They have live-in old couples that just like retirees essentially that are butler and maid for the whole house. And oftentimes they're husband and wife, but they're retired in this nice house and just are living out their days as the butlers for these people or whatever. But you could never afford that. I remember watching those shows when I was a kid at my grandmother's house, and we loved, she loved Columbo. But one of the things that always struck me was like these kind of like really rich people in Beverly Hills, whoever the villain was in this, and they'd have I'm like, wait a minute, they have two people living there? What do they do with the rest of their time? What are you talking about? How is that even a thing? So here it is, unscrewing a bottle cap with hand sensing and without hand sensing. So it shows you what its new fingers can do, is essentially the update. This is pills, so it can open the pill thing, and it has this little thing in there where it can pick up something as thin as a piece of paper in that container using its fingers, which is incredible. Like, just from a year ago, it was impossible almost. So again, these things are going faster and faster and faster towards, I would say, the promise of AI, which is what I feel like today's theme is about, is why people are chasing Claudebot and why people are chasing humanoid robots in a lot of these. So this thing is taking the syringe and putting the exact proper amount in this cup to be drank or to be fed to the cat or whatever it's for. But the point is that it knows this. It also can hand sense these items and sort the ones that are a certain shape from the ones that aren't. And they're very close because it's got cameras inside them. There's the without hand sensing, and it's like, I can't get anything. It's just grabbing its hand around. But with the hand sensing, it's like, dink, dink. It's doing it super fast. So, and then Helix is its software that combines its learning system and spreads it. So if you have three of these things, they'll work in concert without bumping into each other. Do you see it just hit the drawer shut? Watch it close the door to the thing. It does exactly what you would do. It lifts its foot. It like pulls the door up to start it with its foot because it learned off human motion. This is one of those things where it's going to be honest before we know it. And I'm going to go to, but I will also say that it's not going to be crazy honest before we know it. It's not going to go from 0 to iRobot in an afternoon. It's going to be like a boiling frog kind of a situation. Probably the next 2 years in particular are going to be a huge like ramp up. And then the third year is just going to kick off because there are so many of these things coming online. It's like if cars, there was, in the beginning it was just Model T. And then the Germans started making a few cars of their own. And then it took years and years and years before anybody started producing a car. Now there are cars from all types of different, everybody's got their own line across the entire spectrum, from a little like a smart car size to an F-150 size across all of them. Toyota, Honda, like that's how it's working. So there are so many.
In many ways, back to your first story, that's why Tesla stopped making cars. Because there's so many other choices out there.
That's exactly right.
Really, Musk's direction in all of this stuff was not to be better. It was to try to make a moat, like try to be the only one who could deliver it.
Right.
But he had to use other means because his product wasn't fast enough or good enough to maintain the moat itself. So he had to use government, or he had to use borders, or he had to use other things in order to like solve that issue that he had. That's
right. And in many ways, he just decided to blow it off. So let me show you this one, which is the ad for one of these is really funny. And then there's this, I'll show you a couple that are coming online kind of in a hurry. And by the way, there are two levels of ridiculous in all of this. One is Elon Musk. like the Optimus and the way he's trying to sell it is just ridiculous. Like it even if it is functional or it's doing well, he's doing everything he can seemingly to make it look stupid.
Well, I think he's trying to get a government contract
Yes.
to make that, and then his moat is that it takes 5 years for another company to unseat him because he gets through the current administration plus half the next one because government moves slowly, and now he's got 5 to 7 years of runway that he can mess around in.
Yeah, and he's a certain amount of like the funding itself will take care of it. It'll justify itself for more funding. If there's cost overruns and all that kind of stuff, they'll just ask for more money from the taxpayer in that regard, I guess, because it's part of national security.
It's easier to be the maker of a nuclear aircraft carrier because nobody else can make a nuclear aircraft carrier. So when it takes too long or costs go over, like you're the only game in town. But if you're, competing against a bunch of people, 5 other companies making robots, then it's not the same. Like, and some of the, that's when some of the timing of these things becomes like the slowness actually becomes an advantage because you can wait for somebody to win out and just because and the thing becomes a commodity, right? So AI and robots, like they're effectively all going to be commodities within a certain period of time. And so, betting on the winner is dangerous at the moment because there's a long way to go and a lot of people are trying it. And it's possible there won't be a winner. They might all end up kind of the same.
Right. You're seeing a lot of these things, which is, I was saying like all the Chinese ones, for whatever reason, look like Power Rangers and they're shiny. They're always shiny, which is hilarious. And this is one of the ads that I saw that I thought was like fairly hilarious. This is your first personal robot is here. This is from PrimeBot. Wait for it. You'll see.
Like the silliness of this is they like make it as a fighting. They're like presenting it as a fighting robot. Oh,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
really little.
But this is it's tiny. That's the end joke is that after all that, it's like hip height. And it's meant to be like a study robot. There's a cat on set.
Hi everyone, I'm Zihui Jun. Long time no see. Today I'm going to introduce you to one of our latest creations.
I mean,
In the past
fighting
2 or 3
robots
years,
kind of
humanoid
useless,
robots.
to be honest with you. Like,
Well, till you're on the receiving end of it, I guess.
well, even that. I mean, yeah. If it can do dishes, it can fight. That's my point.
Yes, right.
But if it can fight, it can't do dishes.
And I also
don't
think
know.
there's certainly more. I would say that there's more of an appetite for a dishes robot than there is a fighting robot. Like
That's my point. Is I'm more
Yeah.
impressed by a robot that's doing dishes than I am by one that's fighting because
right.
the dish one can fight, but the fighter can't necessarily do dishes.
That's right.
That's my point.
Yeah. So they show like its balancing mechanism and what it's able to do. They put it on a cart and move it around. The SDK, the kit are completely open source, so you can use it for whatever you want. You can train it to do whatever. It shows all this like fighting stuff because it looks like a toy basically.
I mean, scale is a very interesting thing in this case because a robot doesn't need to be our size.
Right.
Like if that robot had the ability to bring along with it a ladder, like it could probably do all the same stuff.
Yep, it fits in a backpack. It folds itself up in the backpack, which is hilarious. And they, they basically talk about that the fact that this thing is scaled as such that everything else is shrunk down from the computers we use. So a little robot isn't necessarily a bad thing. Taking up very little space, and if it could do if it had the strength to bring you a tray of food, who cares how tall it is, sort of. And there's like
Right.
this kid's talking to it, and it's got an AI in it, so it answers questions just like any of the other toy bot things. It's a little silly. And I don't know what the answer it gives here. It can teach English with perfect pronunciation and gets full marks for patience. And then when it's talking, it says, snap is the distinctive sharp sound it makes when it bites something. I guess because it says snap near its mouth, because it's doing the sounds of those things. So, yeah. And the kid's like, thank you, friend. And you can teach it to dance and do all that kind of stuff. And robots don't dance; they recreate motions or whatever. But you can. But again, it is a platform for learning how these things work and teaching them things. So if you had one of these things, and then you eventually got a model that was bigger, and it still had the same similar joints, you could just upload everything you've taught this thing to do into a full size one. And then if you had a helix-like situation where they coordinate, you could have the little one do stuff in areas where it could only fit, and then the big one would do other stuff, and they would work together in tandem, right? Because it could milk cows without bending over. That'd be I guess, is the idea. But
Don't take that any further.
no, disturbing. So yeah, but it's like, they've built into it. It's probably using a Jetson Nano from NVIDIA as its basic, and then they show it riding on one of the other robots because you can work in coordination, which is just funny. I think some of this is CGI or is stop animation, like they make it do it, or they speed it up, they mess with the sound, or had to fix it if it got stuck. But the idea is that the idea is that eventually you can train this, and they give you the 3D files if you want to change its outfit. This is all AI too. I don't know why that thing was shooting its Mjolnir, but like you could print out shells for it for whatever you want it to look like, as basically like a toy. This is like a super toy. I think it's probably $2,000, something like that, which is quite a lot if you're not into robotics. It certainly doesn't fit in sort of the toy area, but it hasn't, and they can learn from each other. So, if you have one, you get a second one, it'll learn from that one. Point being is that this stuff is happening super fast. This is, porn and toys, this is how stuff gets ahead. And sometimes a combination of the two, I guess. But this, like, platform, you can basically have it do whatever within its battery life or whatever. But and it's got a hot swappable battery and all that kind of stuff, which is probably lithium ion. So anyways, that's the Quester 1. Point being is that it's to help you like train and develop up into something like this. So this is the Matrix 3. This is Matrix Robotics. This is brand new. Theirs is very figure-like. This is, how we were spotting the, how Figure really knows what it's doing when it's selling this stuff. There's an Italian company that has another robot as well that's very figure-like. But this is the Matrix 3. And it learns its gait and all these kind of things. And like some of this, I think this feels completely CGI. But they do have their prototypes. They are in, in early production on these things as well. And the idea is that it can fold a piece of paper. It can make origami is the thing that they're showing off about it. at some point. It's also got like multi-tiered touch sensors in its fingers. But they're very much going for the figure 3 business model. You can see even the house looks the same. Now, I don't know that they've gotten there. Like, this is a relatively new company. This is them showing it going through its paces, and this is what it currently walks like. Notice it's got a handle on its neck, so you can come and yank it onto the ground or something like that. But that's its current gait right now. It also has these weird ass bumpers, which are very strange. I don't know quite why that is, which is pretty hilarious. This is their, let's see, yeah, they're showing it around. This was at their booth in China. But you can see it has these little butt bumper things that I don't know if that's for it to sit on or that hides some of the those things. It's hard not to see once you've seen it.
Who knows?
But these are coming online like faster and faster. So the idea is that it isn't just about Optimus. It isn't just about Figure. It isn't even just about the X1 or whatever. There are lots of these things that are going to come out all at once. And that's really where it's going to pop on and take over in a big hurry. And I managed to find that interview with Karp, the dude who was speaking to Larry Fink at the WEF and said that basically robotics and automation will eliminate the need for mass immigration unless it's a specialty skill, right? Well,
immigration for like economic integration.
Yes.
Immigration.
Yeah, labor immigration. Absolutely. Right.
Labor.
Yeah, I think that's what he means by mass immigration, by just the volume of mass immigration. So, and sorry, one second.
And so I think I think we're thinking about the economics of the past and projecting that onto the possible economics of the future when these things happen, and that's really dangerous because I don't know that they're going to be that expensive. Meaning, if there's this many, the same things happened with electric cars. Effectively, like there's been a huge push in China, and all kinds of different companies are making different cars, and in that sense, that means that there's no special car anymore.
Right.
They're all since there's so many options, then the market that typically in a normal market, a lot of options means a less price, less cost.
Yes.
Because there's so much, quote unquote competition. And so they're all going to be competing for sales, and in my eyes, there's like no premium in there. The premium is going to be either function based, like what it does for you and the value of that. So in my eyes, like the way to think about this is still the same. Is what would this thing do for me? Like,
right.
When would I buy it? Like what would be the thing that it could do that would make it worth me?
The tipping point. Right.
Yeah. And, and you can start to like think about things that you have, equipment that you have, products that you have, and what the price of those things were and what value it gives you back. So, maybe the higher end version of that would be a car. Mm-hmm. A car might be one of the more expensive things that most people buy. And on the lower end of that might be a computer, like a $1,500 laptop or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then in between there, maybe there's like lawn equipment or a snowblower. A snowblower is like a single specific task item.
Right.
And you might spend $200 to $500 on that, depending on the features and stuff like that. So again, like you spend $500 on a really nice snowblower because you need the snow off the drive to get your car out in the morning. So that's worth $500 to you, and maybe it lasts 5 years. Mm-hmm. A $500 robot, it doesn't need to do that much before it becomes the same value as the snowblower. See what I'm driving at?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Right. So that's how I try to compare these things. And to me, that collapses very quickly. Like they become tools. They become like accessories, right? Like
Yes.
not, and those accessories effectively make you more productive.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly the same as AI being augmenting. AI is augmenting you, not replacing you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so the less jobs come from higher productivity effectively, um, because individuals are really good at allowing something else to augment their work. So to me, that's the thing to be good at, or to get good at, understanding how to augment your work with technology.
Yeah, and the ability to train them using AI and virtual worlds has hyper accelerated their function within the real world. One of the reasons why they're making these, you know, humanoid robots in the first place is because the world is built for humans. You can't buy a good snowblower for $200.
I just saw that. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Rick, Maine,
Yeah.
Callie. I might have got my range a little off. What's like a decent sized snowblower cost? Like 700,000, 2,000. Sorry, I just whipped out some numbers.
Yeah. Well,
I feel like you can buy a good snowblower for $500. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like
think
I
so.
bought a gas powered.
there's got to be a
have,
Ryobi, right?
No, well, we have a gas powered Cub Cadet that does a very good job, and that thing was under $500.
Mm-hmm.
I think. I don't remember.
Well,
Anyway.
yeah.
Okay, so $2,000 still, like whatever
yeah.
you spent to clear that drive, and
Right,
you probably do
exactly.
it. In Chicago, you might clear your drive 10 times a winter. I don't know. I'm kind of making that up too, but it depends how bad the winter is.
That's right.
A shovel is cheaper, says Chris Dog, but man, if you got a big driveway, shoveling's going to take you a long time and probably hurt you. So
That's true. Okay, so Ryobi has a variety available that you can use,
Okay.
including a wand size one for $189.
yeah, those battery operated snow shovel ones they're really cool, but
Yeah,
they're
okay.
purpose specific. Like
Yeah, they're pretty small job oriented ones, and then they do have like the $2,600
Carl
ones.
Smith says $395 for an electric snowblower.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, let's go for
Whatever.
Here
You guys
go.
get my point.
Yeah, here's a $529 for this one. This is a
There
push.
you go. All right.
Snowball. Yeah, there you go. I think that's in the ballpark of what you were kind of thinking. And you were saying $500 to $700. Here's the $700 edition, which is it's a 21-inch, and there you go.
Yeah, what was that bigger one? That bigger like 2-stage one you had up? It was in the middle of what you just pulled up. It was like $1,700, I think.
Yeah, this one's $2,600, but basically.
Okay, so
yeah,
I should know this because I worked on that product. I actually work for Eco, so
that's hilarious, right? That's amazing. Well, it's not. Ironically, you being in Chicago, that you shouldn't necessarily. That wasn't what you were working on, but they should have given you a free one. Is all I'm saying.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, the Temu snowblower is hilarious. But the point being is that there's a switchover point for everybody on every piece of technology. Look at cell phones, and I often bring up my dear friend in Chicago, actually, who was originally said when cell phones were becoming ubiquitous, like, why would I get a cell phone? I don't want people to be able to call me wherever I am, right? That was like, and he was a holdout for a long time when I was like, ooh, Razr flip phone, flip phone, and yet, of course, he has one now, and whatever. At some point, the usefulness to the cost ratio tipped over for him. And he was a late adopter. I'm an early adopter. Scott Lowell and I famously stood in line for iPods when they first came out. When we were on Queer as Folk, that's when they started to come out. And you could go down to the Apple store and stand in line to get an iPod. It was, he and I both did it at different stores.
Nice.
So
a couple of people just mentioned the money thing, like mentioning something like you must make a lot of money. Like, I'm not speaking about this in terms of like desire, like vanity, to buy an expensive thing. Like
Right.
a lot of snowblowers are sold, and there's
Yes.
a price range for them, and you can go down to 100 and seeming in this conversation up to 3,000. It's not about the like the desire to buy one. It's about the reason you buy it at all. You wouldn't buy a snowblower if you didn't have the task of blowing snow off your drive, or you weren't trading the time for shoveling the driveway, right?
Right.
So a snowblower is actually a really good example of something that you choose to spend money on to save yourself something else, or to, not break your back shoveling, or to be able to do it in 10 minutes before you go to work instead of getting up 2 hours earlier. So the money that you're spending is in exchange for something else, right? And in this case, it's time or it's energy. And a robot is going to live in that zone.
Yeah.
And so all I'm trying to say is compare. If a robot is $2,000 versus $20,000, a $2,000 robot compares more to a snowblower, whereas a 20 to a car, or a $30,000 or $40,000, it compares more to a car.
Right.
So you're going to need it to do a lot more at 30 than you are at 2.
And
That's
it can
all-
be
that's
as
the only point
reliable
I'm
as a
trying to
car. Right. As that car, or more so, because it's new tech. It'll have an edge on it as well, because you won't trust it as much as you're like, oh, I understand what a car looks like. I understand what a car does. So you can look at a $20,000 car and you're like, it'll do the job. But if you see a $20,000 robot and you're not even 100% sure what it'll do, that you might be.
And then there's
more
the
nervous.
vanity comes in when a $25,000 car can do the job, and you choose to buy a $90,000 car because it looks better, right? Like, so, and robots will do that too, right? Like, some people might spend more because they want the stature of it or something like that. These are products.
Yeah,
and they're gonna
be
like
some
exist in the
Melania-like
same
asshole.
environment.
There'll be some Melania-like asshole who wants theirs gold, laminated or gold plated.
Yeah, Vincent Owen 2-Day says one for the neighborhood. Everyone pitches in. I mentioned that the other day. Like, if the snowblower is a robot, then you don't need, like, one person doesn't need it, or you don't need a snowblower anymore if you have a robot, because the robot can shovel, and then it doesn't matter.
That's right.
Right? So you don't need the special auger attachment, because it can pick up a tool and it can shovel, and it doesn't matter if it's out there for 3 hours. Right? So, or it doesn't matter if you share it across the neighborhood. Like, so, and all I'm doing is trying to compare old ways of thinking about things with what the new technology will open you up to in terms of the way you think about these things.
Right. Whether you think you will or not. That's the thing. That goes to my analogy about my friend.
It's going to happen.
It's right. At some point, it's going to be weirdly normal, and all of that. So let me.
So somebody in your neighborhood will do something really silly, seeming to you, and they'll be like, "Oh, look at that idiot over there doing what they're doing with their robot," right?
Yeah.
And then, maybe a month later, you'll be doing that task, and you'll be like, "Well, maybe that wasn't so dumb." Right?
Yeah.
Like, maybe I should go over there and try doing that thing that looks silly. Like, same thing with the, Bluetooth earbuds. Like, it transitioned from you're the jerk in Starbucks talking on your phone, the only one, to everybody's got an earbud in their hand, in their ear, and you can talk to somebody with an earbud in their ear, and they're not going to think it's weird. Like, these same things are going to happen.
Yeah. And so on what time scale? My prediction is that there'll be all of these robots will be sold out immediately, kind of like the NVIDIA chips. They'll be sold out super fast over the next couple of years. Like I think I want to say there was like 5 million chips. They're backlogged or some ridiculousness.
I'm shocked that these robots aren't out now. Like, they seem like totally capable of being out there now.
Yes. And part of it is just making them and selling them, and then maybe the liability stuff. We've talked about that a little bit.
I think that, so to me, like, the short list of reasons why they aren't out there now are like liability, like you said. It could be they want to charge more than they think people will pay for them. So they don't want to they need to set the price. So the timing of it coming out and its capabilities are important for its initial set price.
Yeah. Otherwise, you get like cell phone adoption, where like only rich people had
Right.
them in their cars, you know, in these like big clunky things for a long time, and then they didn't get up to scale where they could bring the cost down, where they could mass produce them at all. Because
Right.
people write
It could
it
be
off.
it could be priced to like function value, meaning like if you're in a US company, you're figure one and you put out a robot and then the market is flooded with Chinese versions of your copycat robot
Yes.
and it's like good enough, then you basically just eroded your value.
Yes.
It could be that there's a scarcity of components, which is totally possible. Or as you said, a scarcity of chips, which is like logically probably a good reason right now. Like everything else is scarce.
Yep.
So it can be all of those things. I think the liability part, I like, it seems to me like you could put a product out. There's a lot of products out there that are very dangerous. So,
Yeah.
you know, like again, a snowblower, if you run over your dog with a snowblower, that's pretty bad. If you stick your arm in it, like, so this thing rolling around like a lawnmower is dangerous. A wood chipper is dangerous, and they sell them at Farm and Fleet, right? Like, so there are dangerous things out there, right?
Yes.
So that part, I'm not certain that that's the holdup.
Well, and we've raced ahead on a myriad of technologies, like nuclear weapons would be the primary one. And I think there's an alignment because of science fiction between those two things that people have forever almost tied them together. AI, whether it's Womp or Whopper, depending on which movie you're talking about, will automatically launch a strike against our enemies, and their version of AI will launch a strike from their end, or fake one, and it won't know the difference between a fake one and a real one the way a human would, because we want to live and it doesn't understand being alive at all, or whatever the fuck. So this is this is an issue that we've blown right past before over and over again, now later on we learn, not to sell fireworks in Kentucky, right? But
but just as well as they could pick up a bunch of fireworks and shoot them at the neighbor, the robot could also pick up some wood, nails, and a hammer and start building a house. Like it can do. You don't know. Like if you want to go down the road of runaway craziness, like it can run away and do good things just as well as it can run away and do bad things. And most of these, the reality of most of those things is it's an accident or a mistake that's going to be the thing that happens, not like some sentient AI brain like deciding to like become a megalomaniac.
There is a so one of the things, I'm trying to find it right now, but Musk is talking about that they want solar powered data centers in space. This is Bezos's idea. He's just glomming onto it. But solar powered,
by the way.
yes, solar powered AI things in space, which, by the way, again, can dissipate heat off of the chips that are working and all this kind of stuff. If even by the time they do it, it requires that, because again, a shift towards quantum or photonics would eliminate most of the heat and energy problems that we're seeing with current AI, and that everybody's zipping towards that as fast as they possibly can. And they might use a lot of power to get to that point, but then for the rest of time, we're under the power constraints of something that's completely, light and more maneuverable. But anyway, so the idea is that they're going to build these solar powered brain arrays in space that will, through Starlink, of course, you'll be able to communicate back and forth to the AIs that are in those things, and that's how you'll use it. And it will cool itself because it's in space, and then it will, get all of its energy because it will be permanently solar synchronous orbit or whatever, where they have to face the panels always face the sun 24 hours a day. They go up, they do this kind of geosynchronous orbit where it goes up and slightly down, so it's always got sun on it, like the moon does at night. And so that's their goal. Let's see if I can find this business. Let's see if he says it here. Hold on.
Well, I think that there's increasingly a convergence actually between SpaceX and Tesla and XAI. In that, if the future is solar powered
It's one big bullshit smoothie.
AI satellites, which are
Yeah, he's
pretty
like,
much
I
needs to
gotta
be
spend
in
the
order
money
to
somewhere.
Yeah.
in order
The
to
cars aren't selling because I told my entire customer base to go fuck themselves.
harness a non-trivial amount of the energy of the sun, you have to move to solar-powered AI satellites in deep space, which somewhat is a confluence of Tesla expertise and SpaceX expertise. And
Also, why Tesla is just stupid? Because that's the bigger stock price. That's why. Because XAI isn't public yet, and that's why.
AI on the AI front. So it does feel like over time there's somewhat of a convergence there. But all the companies. Well, I think that there's increasingly.
I got to tell you, this looks like more of a stock pump than anything else. But the goal is this orbital AI business. I don't know what these rockets are doing. Because it's going to fly right into this one, or maybe it's just a perspective trick. But the idea is that these data centers run completely on solar panels, and that's what cools them and powers them at the same time. And again, this is an idea he stole from Jeff Bezos, who's been talking about this for a while now as the only real answer to the environmental costs of AI at some point in the future.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it seems like there's this unregulated space, no pun intended, and what can we stick up there that can make us money? Because we're the only ones that can stick stuff up there, essentially. So
Sounds painful.
well, I mean, it's true. Like there's a very few number of entities that can blast things up into space, right? So
Yes.
again, that's their moat. Like they're the only ones that can do it. So if it's hard to put a data center in Memphis, which it's been for them,
Right.
because there's all kinds of problems, like the neighbors being mad at him, then he can get it. He can put one up in space because nobody can really say anything about it, at least for now. And it's so much more expensive. He can convince people to give him money to do it. So, I mean, I suppose like if you were able to figure that out, like there might be some interesting, latch on effects to that, or like additional, things, but it just, I don't know. It doesn't seem worth it to me, at least at this time.
Well, and again, they're looking at down the barrel of the appetite for energy that we're talking about here, which is 100 kilowatts more than we produce in the United States currently, at minimum. That's what they're dealing with, and to spin up nuclear power sites or coal plants or something, even more toxic than that, to feed that will take 10 years, whereas the growth of AI is happening in 3. Now, I think it will answer its own issue in many ways, because you will use AI to kind of solve your power problem. It would seem like if it's that great, it will kind of already, it'll solve its own problems.
That's what we were talking
along the way.
about kind of earlier, and that is that to get true value out of an LLM, it doesn't there's a limit to how big it needs to be to get individual true value out of it.
Right.
And so it can run you have a Mac Mini and we were talking, I ended up not on a Windows, but I built a Linux out of an old computer. So I didn't even buy anything new for it. And my old hardware there is roughly equal to a current Mac Mini for the M4 chip. And both of them can run something that's like snappy and like it does a decent job. Like it's good enough to run locally. You feel like you're productive with it.
Right.
So if you can do that just with a small appliance plugged in, like you don't need the big data center. Like you would need the big data center for like maybe once a month or once every 2 weeks or something like that, at least in the way that I've been using it. And you want the really big, ability to do a lot more than I could do locally, right? So
Right.
there's times when you're going to want that, but it's not every moment of every day like you're connected to a cellular network, right?
Correct. So I guess the question becomes, well, the ubiquity of it. I think here's the two big fears I keep coming up in our chat room and elsewhere, and I think this is worth addressing. Is it kind of goes to almost every major advance. Like I've talked a little bit lately about the LEV, the longevity escape velocity idea of like de-aging people or treating aging like a disease and stuff. And having worked with Aubrey de Grey and those folks doing comedy at their gathering and looking at the technology, they thought before AI showed up that they were about 20 years away. Now they feel like they're 3. They were 20 years away about 6 years ago. Now they're within the decade, is what they're saying. By 2030, you're going to see the tip of this, and then it's going to start working its way through the FDA and other stuff, and you'll see long-term studies on it, kind of completing around that time. And then they're going to talk about de-aging people. And the idea is that most people fear is that, well, the rich will have access to this and they'll be 30 forever, and the poor will just die. But the issue is that the world continues to go on, and it's actually going to be cheaper to treat people's age as a disease and therefore mitigate all the diseases you get because of aging than it is to take care of and pay for those diseases. And certainly in first world countries, and whether it's the UK or Canada, it's not all US all the time, there will be a push to make those things available to everybody because it will save health companies money in the long term. Because some people will still get that stuff. They'll still get osteoporosis or they'll still get liver disease or something like that. But you'll be able to, you'll be treating a lot fewer people, and it will be way less expensive for insurance companies and way less, if you have a national health service. The UK, Canada will basically insist on, look, we can eliminate all these diseases caused by aging just by treating people for their age. And that's where that stuff comes online, makes it cheaper and more available in the same way that this tech is going in. And if only like rich assholes have a robot in their house, it will stymie it in the same way that if rich assholes were the only ones that had cell phones, it kept it like in limousines for a long time, in cars, but there was no market. Like obviously the market for everybody having a phone. Right.
Exactly. Like the reason why all this money is being put into these technologies is because they think there's a massive market. So you've got to sell a bunch of stuff to a whole bunch of people.
Yeah.
There aren't enough rich people to make it worth doing. So it's gotta filter down, or else it will not exist anymore.
Yeah.
So that's why what you said won't happen, because the robot company won't exist if they don't sell 100 million of them eventually. Like that's the whole reason they're putting money into it, because they think it's the next iPhone.
That's right.
They want to sell 1 billion of them.
That's right. Minimum.
Not 100,000 to rich people.
And no single company could make enough for the demand they believe is there. So that's why there's a few startups now in the world of like apps and phones or whatever. There's like 7,000 companies that make phones or phone attachment related stuff. There's like, I don't know, 50 robot companies in the world, or companies that have a significant section, whether it's Hyundai, or whether it's like guys starting up in their garage creating, an open source humanoid. That whole cascade, it's such a small market so far, but it's exploding. It went from 10 companies make these giant robots that do stuff in car plants to 50 companies, and many of them focused on either Roombas. That was the big push forward too, because those are technically robots. And then the humanoid move has, because of AI, accelerated like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. We're in agreement on that, for sure. Like, and so like nothing, just very few things become these runaway things. They get checked by something.
Yes.
And in the case of robots, they're going to be like, if they're too hard on the environment, or a data center, if a data center it will get to a breaking point if it's too hard on the environment, and then
True.
it will break.
Yes.
And then it won't be hard on the environment anymore because it won't exist.
Um,
That's how it works.
Yeah, I did a poll. Let's see. I'll end the poll because we've already done it. The poll. Let's see. Where are we? Where did it go?
Wow, that's
Yeah. Do you see it?
It's like equal yes and no.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So about half and half people use it and don't use it, and then there are a few AI bots in here that are good enough to admit that that's exactly what they are, and are robots among us. And we're doing okay on our super chat goal as well. I think we're about halfway there. I set it very low at 10, so that's cool. But I'm curious, people in the chat room, when I'm looking at the chat, let me know which one you use. If you do use one at all, is it Claude, Anthropic? Is it Copilot? Is it OpenAI and ChatGPT? Do you have a local LLM? Do we have any, first burners in there that are, willing to risk a hard drive collapse on new stuff? I'm curious about that. Now, one of the things I did want to show was originally Amazon had a thing called Kuiper, which was going to compete with Elon Musk's Starlink. That has now been changed to Leo. It's Amazon Leo, and it is basically a direct competitor to Starlink. And it is, it's like built for off grid and like fucking wherever you are, and I'm sure there'll be some version of it that you can attach to a backpack or whatever, like the smaller version like they've made with these. But this is Amazon's version of this. And part of Blue Origin and all that kind of stuff that they've been doing is that they can start laying the groundwork like SpaceX does for putting these things up there. I see a ton of ChatGPT, some Copilot. There's Gemini in there. Nicely done. Gemini, Sora, and Copilot.
There's I see the first Claude.
Yep, I saw a Claude in there. Very like that seems to be like the upper tier in many ways for people who want to mess around with the coding and the like.
Yeah, like I always if you don't know what you're doing, I tend not to recommend Claude because it's a little bit more technical. And
yes,
but if you know what you're doing, it's very, very good.
It's very good. Yeah, yeah, very especially good. in the co-work aspect of things, which I showed off on Wednesday or whatever, and. So let's think about this for a second. This is also in line with what I would say is that it only becomes profitable with mass availability. No one is going to run these things up into the sky and replace them because they are low Earth orbit satellites so that rich people can, get the internet while they're jet skiing to look at websites created by bots because there are no other humans on the planet. It just doesn't work that way. Like this is still old school business and sales and looking for a customer base and all that kind of stuff. And so Leo is going to be, they've just started the waiting list for it or whatever. But I use a hotspot when I'm traveling, and there's a reason why when I'm doing my show, having something like Starlink would be useful to me when I'm traveling to guarantee that my show is consistent and I don't have to worry about whatever the hotel is or when I'm out in the sticks with family and that kind of stuff. But I don't want to give him any money. So and it's the same reason I'm not on Shitter is because I don't want to contribute to the cycle of awful that whole place is, right? So in this particular case, like this interests me. This is the other, this is a competitor. There does not seem to be a third possible option. There's no like, world liberty internet that Trump and his dipshit friends are creating or anything like that. But like
that's because it's hard to get stuff into space effectively. Like
yes,
there's only a certain number of people that can shoot rockets into space, like without them blowing up, and even they have trouble blowing them up sometimes.
Yeah. By the way,
and then getting them back, I suppose.
Corntex says Gemini seems to do my Arduino coding better than Chat GPT, I guess, for test fixtures.
Entirely possible.
And Stacy says she mostly uses Copilot. She goes, I'm actually excited and nervous to see how this tech changes things. And there's so much to it. This team that just may have cured pancreatic cancer, it's early stages, but they managed to do it in mice. The reason they were able to do it was because they were able to crunch studies across the entire globe in a way that no human could do it because of access and mental capacity and staying up all night reading every single page twice and combining the data and making a macro out of this, out of a bunch of disjointed studies in a bunch of different languages. That it was able to do it fairly quickly. That is going to be, life-changing, period, life-saving for millions of people, minimum, all, in the next few years alone, much less almost the entirety of humanity, which, may be why Peter Thiel is talking about killing us all. But this, again, that's a project. Leo is a project where unless you're, I guess, wanting to, I don't know, like, I can't think of a reason why, this isolated living on on an island away from all humans and you want an empty internet to reach out to all the time, or it's just AI just coughing up, fake conversations. I'm going to show you something on Alibaba in a second.
More of like an extreme version of I don't want to pay taxes. Like that's just taking it to a completely it's kind of that simple. Like I don't want to pay taxes. So This is the extreme I'll go to. Bob Thanos asked, what will the AI chip in the next Xbox consoles be for? I think they're talking about having AI enabled inside Xbox consoles. So first off, like chips in general are going the direction that they're all pretty good at doing AI work. Yeah. And also the chips that are really good at playing games, if you will, or processing games being played, they tend to be very parallel to the type of chip you need for AI. So first off, it's probably just what makes sense for them to buy, and it's AI enabled. So why not throw AI onto it, because it'll help them sell it. And then second, in general, the idea of a console is it's a piece of equipment that you have in everybody's house. So now you basically are able to send more features other than games, or send more abilities other than games to that thing. And you have an Alexa, or you have an appliance like an iPhone or a Alexa, like sitting in someone's house. You can serve them up with more stuff, basically more capabilities.
Well, if like my son, you like Goat Simulator 3, the ability to make up your own Goat Simulator game in an instant with your friends is hilarious. Like the fact that they would sit around and make some sort of version of Goat Simulator. And if you don't know what Goat Simulator is, it's one of the singular most ridiculous games that exists. I'll show you on here, but it started out as a failed game where people were making like these broader worlds, and there were all sorts of errors in it, and they decided to make the errors, turn it from a bug into a feature, essentially.
Sure.
So
it empowers more abilities effectively. Like that's why. But the chip is probably an AI capable chip anyway. Like the chip that they had to make it work is only available now in a version which has tensors cores on it. Like so enable it, right?
Yep. This is a game by Coffee Stain, which is the company that makes it.
Is this the goat thing?
Yeah, this is Goat Simulator 3. He turns on a thing, and then where is it? Yeah. He just goes for a jog, and then this goat comes in behind him and basically just starts destroying the world, and he's oblivious to the fact that it's... And so the goat just knocked her there. It hit the cop in the background. There he is. It's got lasers. The goat's attacking a person. It's driving a car. It runs past him. It's got little costumes that can shoot the guy. Like, it's just so stupid. And the point of this is just to wreak havoc as a goat, and you're playing it first person or third person as the goat. So you see the goat running in front of you doing this thing, and he steps in goat shit, and that's the joke. And then there are the goats behind him. Yeah. So, anyways, it's a totally ridiculous game. Let me let's see. I'm going to show you this. Yeah. So this is Alibaba. This is the Chinese kind of Amazon. And if you put in AI device, it's just stupid how much stuff comes up, right? Everything's got AI in it, including like an AI.
Got AI.
Yeah, AI workout
There's no
machine.
like real.
Right.
The fuzzy definition of AI means there's no actual definition of AI. So just everybody calls their thing AI.
That's right. And here's an example, like an AI bionic pincer, an advanced intelligent bionic prosthetic hand robot artificial arm with high sensitivity myoelectric functional 5 fingers. It doesn't look like 5 fingers. It looks like 4, but it looks like 3 there actually. But this, I guess you can put one on there and it'll use the rubber hand goes over top of it or something like that. It helps you grip that, and it's hooked up to a sensor. There's the hand, the full hand version. But it is like a bionic hand that's now available that would have been like, they're mass producing them because they're making all these hands for robots. So they're making a shit ton of these like for people who need prosthetics. And it'll have a sensor on it, and the AI chip that would go with it just simply translates muscle twitch to whatever motion you train it to do. So if you're trying to make it close and make a fist or open up or wiggle its fingers, it'll train on that in the same way that the other ones were designed to. It just happens a lot faster. So, but again, they're just junk producing them. But there's so much of this shit. And they are dumping as much of it onto the internet as they possibly can and into the, there are these
Well, they have capacity, and they're
nobody's
selling
buying
their
anything else.
capacity.
Right. Nobody's buying anything else. And they're changing everything that they were selling as far as technology to now just tack AI onto it and off you go. Including apparently a waterproof sex toy, which should go without saying, because who wants one you can't clean? Am I right? And then these holographic avatar boxes that are different heights, and you can put them and it look in a place, and you can either put an AI figure in it, or you can put you can project a person that's on a green screen into it. Super weird. They've been around for a while. They stole that tech from a guy in California, and they just never looked back. The guy's total business just vanished. Point being is that this is what I was looking for. There's a huge industry of this shit, this like Tamagotchi level AI stuff, which is brutally useless. Like, it is just wasted plastic. Like, this is stuff that is going to be, but if you ever had mass adoption of it, like Beanie Babies or something like that, it would brick in a matter of less than a year, and you'd never look at it again. And so it's like, and there's so much of that stuff where they're just like, oh, they're you know what this is? This is a Bluetooth speaker that you hook up to your phone, and then when ChatGPT talks, you use the mic and the speaker on this to talk to it. That's it. They're taking all these things and basically wrapping them in stuff and selling them as these, including lady dolls. Where there's got to be one in here. They always come up with something. There's a butler one. There's an AI vending machine. There's a thing to watch your baby. I mean, a smart, baby monitor is not that weird a thing. I don't know what's happening here. I think if I look up AI companion, that's when it gets really scary. There's a AI toilet.
I mean, they've got a ton of capacity, and the way that innovation happens there is you basically just create new things out of the components that you're already making, or you make a different version of something you're making for somebody else.
Yeah,
so
that's what I was talking about
one
with
of those
these
two
fucking things. Yeah,
right. Yeah. So they've got a massive capacity. manufacturers to the world. So
Mhm.
you're going to see a ton of stuff.
Right.
And
Just trying to make up for the
you know, like,
space in it.
I actually, for the development work that we do for different companies, I actually look at toys a lot, because they create they create like the illusion of technology sometimes with like really inexpensive
Right.
inexpensive technology, and there's like something to that, like,
Yeah.
and so it's
They're
not
all based
about
on
like,
good enough. They're all based on good enough.
yeah,
Like this is good enough to be a
exactly.
toy. Kids will play with this for a certain amount of time.
Yeah, so really it's like, what does it do, and does it do it well, and does it fit the situation? And if it
Yes.
does that, then you're going to think it's a good product, and if it doesn't, then you're not, right? So
Right.
and so toys do that pretty well.
Right.
And I mean, it's also a completely different culture. So
Right.
like
Japan and
Chinese,
China, yeah.
Japanese, like Asian tchotchke is different than
Yep.
European tchotchke is different than US tchotchke, like.
Yep. This is the weirdest thing. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this, but this is the there are these little like hologram tubes that hook up to an AI or whatever, and then
Okay.
they will react to them or whatever. And they're companion AIs. And like, it's a doctor, and like it will tell you it's day 3 of your recovery. Please remember to take your medication. And da da da. This is, and there's like, show me what a bee looks
basically
like.
a little. It looks 3D inside that tube, basically.
Sort of, yeah. And then it's
Okay.
got this pretty lady who will be a friend of your dad's. My work today is rough. I'm sorry to hear that your work is challenging today. Is there anything specific you'd like to talk about? I'm here for you. That it's a AI chatbot. It's powered by GPT. It's got a built-in digital companion, like multiple ones you can change out in it. There were a few of these at CES. That
Do
were
you
going
know
for,
what is it persistence of vision, or is it like some sort of like, do you know what technology they're using to get the holographic?
I'm guessing
Look.
those little fans that spin. the
Yeah,
little spinning.
that's persistence of vision. I don't know
Yeah.
how they get it tall like that inside. Maybe it's like spinning
No, there's
like
2
this.
of them. There's like 2 little
Oh, okay.
ones.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah. So, anyways, this is
Interesting.
weird. Like, it's time for reading. I don't know what to read. Do you have a favorite genre? Yes, my kid knows the word genre. Also, why is Grandpa's girlfriend talking to my kid? Right. Right. But anyways, like there were a bunch of these at CES at a couple. Well, there were a couple of them. There were like 2 stations that did them, but they were selling for like $800 a pop, and on here they're $189 a piece.
Yeah, I mean, those are. It's like you get the same value out of just looking at a flat screen.
Yes.
A
it's
lot
so,
of the 3D screen stuff, it just never seemed like
no.
it was going to do anything. Like a 3D TV, it's like,
Right. That's where. Well, that's
it's
why
good. I mean,
VR
if you have
headsets
a
are better.
90-inch TV in front of you, that's basically 3D. It doesn't.
Yeah,
need to pop
exactly.
out. Like,
You're overwhelmed
Your
by it.
entire vision is completely.
Yeah, and there's a
taken
lot
up
of
by the screen.
what are effectively like, this is a smart translator. This guy right here, the smart phone assist translator, whatever. Okay, it's a fucking speaker with a mic on it. It's that because it's going to your phone. Your phone is doing all the stuff. If your phone is using whatever chat thing you're doing, so they're just reselling these cheap Bluetooth speakers that are this big as AI companions or whatever, and they're flooding the market with them. There's also like AI rings and whatever, and that just because it reads the data on or whatever. These things, the ultralight AI exoskeletons, the walkers or whatever, I literally thought about getting one of those for my dad and then for my mom because she has a hip issue. I was like, that actually I could see, because the only AI part of it is the chip stabilizes it like a Segway. It's not really AI in that regard. And then there's this thing, which I've seen ads for, which goes in your car and becomes the AI for your car. A lot of them are called like, his name is Nano or something, and you attach it to your thing. I'm like, your phone does that. You basically just, and it's going to be a better
That's the
model on your
problem with-
phone. Yeah.
Yeah, all of these AI, I don't know, lanyards, pens,
Yeah.
pins, glasses. Like your phone does almost everything those things do. So
Exactly.
again, it's like, what is it? What's the use for it? And the physical manifestation of it needs to support the actual use. And we haven't really, like, people are used to holding their phone up and filming and doing that, but they're not used to like a thing on their chest where they've got to make sure, like, so there's ergonomics to it. Like you see what's on the phone picture and you're
Right.
like the director, you're like getting the picture you want. Whereas these things that are just sort of on you, like you don't know what they're seeing or hearing, right? Like, so many things are taking the human out of the loop. Like the marketing is, you don't have to do any work. Like it does it for you.
Right.
But like one of the points I made to you earlier in the week was like, it's not that you don't want to do the work. Like you actually need to do the work, or
Yeah.
else you need to read the story, or else you won't internalize the story. Right. So like, it's not about that. It's about having context in the right place at the right time. So like the information in the story, I need to be able to read, and I need that to come up when I want it. I don't want to have to search for it, find the book,
Right.
find the place in the book. Like, what is that line from that book I read?
Mm-hmm.
You want to be able to get straight there really fast instead of searching through the book, right? So you still need to do the work. You just need something to augment you to get there faster or get to the work instead of doing a bunch of stuff that's not part of the work.
That's right. Well, in
That's how
our
I look
last
at
moment, we're going to we're looking forward,
Okay.
literally, not figuratively, to OpenAI has a project they're coming out called Project Gumdrop. And
Okay. I
they
haven't
have
heard about
decided they're ready to get rid of your phone with a pen. So
the pen. Oh yeah, I
yes.
saw that. That's probably why I said pen as one of my examples.
Yes, exactly. So Project Gumdrop is going to be this ubiquitous device you have with you at all times that has a camera, has a microphone, can record video and audio, or allow the AI to interpret it. It doesn't have to actually record it, and works as a pen and as a stylus, I would imagine. So if you're writing on a surface, you're not writing with a real pen. But if you do write with a real pen, you could replace the cartridge in it. And it stores all your notes from your handwriting, and anything that you sign, it'll take a picture of it, I would imagine, and put your signature, in a stored version of it.
So that function that you just described has been a product before that didn't work. There are pens. There are pens out there that where you could write and it would record what you wrote. I don't know the name of the product, but that's nothing new.
Right.
They're just like searching for the thing that they can embed a microphone in effectively. That's it. Like they just need to have a microphone in there so that they can gather. I mean, you need to gather that information too. If you want to summarize a meeting,
Right.
you have to have the audio from it, right?
That's right.
So
well,
somehow,
that's where, like, and again, I've talked about like Jarvis and Friday, and the is really the kind of main goal for what they're establishing and all these things. That's what everybody thinks of when they think of AI for real. Is that it's always on, always listening, always a partner. You could tell it to buzz off if you want to, but most of the time you do want it there because it doesn't care or feel or whatever. You can tell it everything, because if you tell it not to share it with anybody else, it won't, in that theory, because it's yours. He has a proprietary local LLM, right? That is his and has his data, trains on his data, works with him as a co-pilot, as a partner in the science, and is always listening in the lab, is always listening in his helmet, and in theory, he's got some version of it when he's just out and about that he can either take off or wear all the time, which more than likely will be something really small. And having it be a pen in a pocket maybe is the closest thing that people can think of right now, but I think a lot of people think of it as almost like a Star Trek badge, which is why the human badge didn't work, because it was too clunky. But this idea where you can tap it on and tap it off, that the pendant that I have, the Plaud pendant, the bracelet, is amazing that way. That's what it really shines at, is that you push it and it will vibrate, letting you know it's on and it's listening, and then it records the audio and translates it and turns the meeting notes into something valuable. Yeah.
I think of those things as like I almost think of that recording as being public effectively. Like
Right.
it's like, and the reason I bring that up is I'm working with a client right now that like uses AI a lot, and they do it fairly successfully. So when we have a meeting, I've come to the conclusion it's actually better if we have a meeting over Zoom or Teams, like an online meeting, because what we do is, instead of like taking notes and summarizing and putting a report together and sending it, we just record it. And everybody knows that they're being recorded, because you start out by saying, we're going to record this, but then the information goes to all of us. So like instead of writing a summary of it, what I do is I just send the data, the transcript, to all, let's say there's 3 people, all 3 of them get it. And instead of a report, they all just paste it into their AI, and they let the summary, they get a summary, and each of them get a summary separately and individually, right? So it's not my summary, it's their summary of what you could call public data, public between the 3 of us, let's say, right? And so if you think about it that way, it's a completely different way of dealing with the recording, dealing with the transcript. Like, and life is about your perception of the situation, not about necessarily what really happened, right? And 3 people can be in a meeting and come away with 3 completely different things.
This is true.
So the way that we know that we're on the same page is if our summaries are similar. And so when I see somebody else's summary, or they comment about something back to me a day later, like I know that they understood it because they sort of said it back to me in their own way, or I know they didn't because they're off, right? So the new meeting is about us leaving on the same page. And that didn't happen because I gave them a document and made them read it and memorize it. It happened because we all like entered that shared data differently. Does that make any sense what I just said?
Well, this goes to, and we'll finish out the show, and then we're going to raid Boston Brian over on his channel as soon as we're done. And I want to thank Rob Glenn from Root Design in Chicago being with me today, and hopefully he'll be able to make it over to the radio tomorrow, if indeed the weather permits and his time permits.
By the way, if I make it over there, I don't want to be on the radio. I just want to say hi.
Oh, okay.
In person.
Damn it. But I will say,
prefer not to be on the radio.
Okay, good to know. Thanks for that. Thanks for the heads up. But you were talking about how at one point, like if you and I shared a desktop at work or computers, and we're looking at the same data is you were saying is flat across the hard drive. It doesn't care what you want it to look like. You can change the UI and it will look like whatever works for you.
How you look at it. It's kind of like the Matrix, right? Like you look at like the computer is the Matrix in the ones and zeros, it's just there. And you organize it. Each person can organize it different, but it can be the same thing. So it's really about how you decide to organize it. And your folders on your computer, that's a skeuomorph. We've talked about that before. It's like it's an analogy to organization. And you're forced to only have one version of that. But what this new AI kind of concept is that every person can have their own organization of that same flat data.
Fitted to them. All looking at the same computer or the same hard drive or the same information.
The same information, essentially. And they can organize it however they want. And this is a super high level concept, and it probably doesn't make any sense, but so much of what stops creativity is the fact that you have to pre-organize it. And my take on AI is you don't have to pre-organize, you can post-organize. So it's actually taking the organization or the documentation and waiting until after you did it before you organize it. Yeah. And I'll try to visualize what that means in like real like things, but you'll understand it when you see it.
Yes. Well, my way of putting it is that we're both talking about an Excel spreadsheet. You like looking at rows and numbers, and I want it turned into a podcast by Notebook LM so I can listen to the data discussed.
Yes, there you go.
Because
Perfect.
I remember things better when they come from a prosaic space and openly discussed. So if you literally put this into Notebook LM and go, make me a podcast that explains the outcome and focus on these regions because that's my area, and turn it into a half-hour podcast, and I'll listen to it while I jog. It's, or turn it into something that sounds like a lecture at school because I'll listen to it that way, as opposed to you just want to see the fucking rows, right? That's the same data, but AI makes it possible for us to get our own version.
To see it in your own way, to see
That's
it
right.
in your own unique way, but you're seeing the same thing. Exactly. That's
right.
That's a way better example than the way I just described it.
Thanks. Comedy is about analogy. I'm going to let you guys go. I will be live at WCPT tomorrow with Johnny Million, and Rob Glenn will be lurking, but he won't be on the air. He'll just be there to lurk. And
I'm going to stand in front of you and try to make
and then I'm at Dino's in Elk Grove Village tomorrow night doing a fundraiser for Indivisible. I believe it might be sold out at this point. You're welcome. And then I turn right around and fly back to take care of my girl Sunday morning super early. So it's a fly in, fly out. I'll be in at midnight tonight, working all day tomorrow, and then flying right back because that's the kind of guy I am. And right now we're gonna take off and throw it to Boston Brian. So give a thumbs up, like, subscribe. Thank you, everybody. I will do the AMA from Chicago tomorrow. Either before or after the radio show with Johnny Million, or before the stand-up show, or both. Maybe, I don't know. I'll bring my gear to both. So I think I can get in and stream using the cameras at CPT for my purposes. But just in case, I will bring my stuff and be there early. And then same thing with the show tomorrow night. I want to be at least able to capture it and then share it with everybody. So I'm going to bring my stuff with me. Rob, you're awesome. Thanks for putting up with my silly analogies. And everybody, remember, this is a tool, and I want good people to use it, because my big fear is that the decent people, the people who are like, I don't like it, it's not human, and blah blah blah, will leave it to the Don Juniors of the world to take over, and they will get the benefit, the value of this very important tool. And we won't, because they will jump straight in there fearlessly. And it's going to be a thing. There's no avoiding that. It is in the same way that the robots are on their way. This is going to happen as well. It's just a matter of when, not if. And so don't be afraid to just kind of dive into these. Somebody asked also about smart glasses that can replace the Ray-Ban ones or whatever. I wouldn't send you down one of the cheaper model lanes without testing it myself, but any of the ones that can make calls, glasses that you can make calls on, like the Bose ones are the really nice ones, or any of the bone conducting headsets or whatever, they'll work fine. Your own earbuds will work just fine as a conversational thing. But if you want the glasses that film and that kind of stuff, there are a bunch of them online ranging from $40 to $150, which are cheaper than the other ones. Buyer beware, but they basically will do the same thing as long as you are able to store the video. The price range I see is about $160 for most of them, $170. So that's cheaper. That's a couple $100 cheaper than the Meta, and it's not giving money to Facebook, and it's not tied to that account. So that's the other thing. So anyways, you're awesome. Thanks so much, Rob, for sticking with me today. And
thanks for having me, and have a great weekend, everybody.
That's
in
right.
The chat. Great to see you as well.
And I'll see you tomorrow. It's very exciting.
Yes. Travel safe, man.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Okay.
You.
Cheers. And let me slip this over here where it's just me. There you go. And I'll bring in the chat room, and thank you guys for being with me today as well. And let me open this guy. I need a Frago. Infrago. Show search. There you go. There we go. Nope. Show the grid list. Show the inspector. I need to open this. Hold on. Open the sound set. Open this thing. Window, main view. Let's see. Moving resource. Where'd you go to, you silly thing? How about that? Nope, that didn't work. Oh, I see. Here it is. Bring fire. There we go. Now I've got my music and I'm fine. It decided to shut down on me or move around, whatever. It's computer stuff. That's what we all live with. I posted yesterday a song by Queensryche called "Screaming in Digital," and I was like, this might be their most prescient song ever. But right after that, I was like, that's also true of Surgical Strike off the Rage for Order. The entire Rage for Order album might be fully 30 years ahead of its time. Just saying. If you're into, progressive rock with a lot of high notes in it, which I am, give it a listen if you haven't heard it in a long time. If you used to listen to it, how should you do a stand-up show with Christopher Tice? I agree. There is a, it's just amazingly, the prognostication of the album is unmatched. That's what I'll say. All right. So that said, I will see you guys later. Enjoy Boston Brian. I'm going to rush off so you guys can see more of him. And he's going to visit with us tomorrow. He's going to be in Chicago tomorrow. So he'll be at the show with me tomorrow night. So maybe he'll be part of that AMA. That'd be kind of cool. That's worth a like. That's worth a thumbs up. Remember, Cliff Schechter and John Fugel sang on Monday, and the Major and Phil on Wednesday of next week. It's going to be very busy. I'm a very busy man. You're lucky to have me.
The fridge hums
say it.
low, the lights flicker bright. Microwave's got a mind tonight. The thermostat whispers in the dark. Porch spark like a steel heart. The toaster's on, the kettle screams, the coffee maker's brewing skin. Maximum overdrive. They've come alive. Wires twist, machines won't thrive. Circuit snap, we won't survive. It's the rise of the high maximum overdrive. Vacuum's got vengeance in its roar.